Hi everyone! Today I will talk about a topic which is not very popular nowadays, Microsoft Copilot. Joking apart, I walk you through every step to create your own Copilot. In this scenario, I walk you through my own Copilot that I built in order to add issues, chatting with a bot in an issue tracker list. Alright, let's get started. And here I am on my demo tenant. What I have here is my own Copilot accessible through the chat in Teams, and I have here my issue tracker assistant, my own Copilot that I built. Moreover, I have also this entry here available as app issue tracker. If I click on it, I'm able now to start to chat with my bot. So the idea here is to build my own Copilot to facilitate the ability to add issues on my list. So this is an example. What I told before to my bot is please add the following issue: ticket system error. Adele got an error today in the ticket system, access denied, with prio high assigned to this user. This issue was reported by Adele Events. So, and then what I got here is a response coming through my bot. The new issue with the following information has been added. So what we are using here, or better, what this Copilot, custom Copilot is using for me is an issue tracker list. I created an issue tracker list directly on my SharePoint, which is this one. As a template, I used the issue tracker, and we have several information here. So in the previous scenario that we have seen, I asked to add a new issue, and this is the issue that Copilot added for me. And as you can see, it's also detailed and really specific because I specify the email of my user and as assigned to this issue, and then I specified also my colleague Adele Events, which reported the issue, and we have also this information already in prio high, and this is also added, and as a status we have new. So you can easily create something like that to cover this scenario. Maybe you want to facilitate to add elements or items in some SharePoint lists that you have. So let's go ahead with this scenario and let's make in practice something. Let's try to ask something. Okay, I added something here. Add the issue access denied on SharePoint as description. Adele can access the home site prio normal. This user will take care of this issue, and Adele reported this issue. Now let's try to send this, and my own Copilot, my issue tracker assistant, will do something here, will follow specific action that I will show you in a bit, and let's wait for hopefully for the right message. The new issue access denied on SharePoint has been added successfully. So this is the response that we got. Now, to double check this, I will open this tab where I have my SharePoint list. I will refresh the page, and here we go. So we have this new entry, access denied on SharePoint. For your info, the user provided tail information for adding the issue, and normal, we have status new, we have the proper user has been added today, so also the date reported it's correct, and finally we have the issue logged by, and we have Adele. So this is how you can speed up creating new elements in SharePoint lists. We are working on this specific list, but of course you can collaborate and work with multiple lists if you want through your own Copilot. Alright, it's time to show you this Copilot that I created. Here I am on office.com. To create my own Copilot, what I need to do is, of course, click on Apps and then All Apps. If you don't see Copilot Studio here, you can open Power Apps, for example, and on the left rail you can click on Power Platform. Finally, you have Copilot Studio. Alternatively, you can type in the URL text bar copilotstudio.microsoft.com. And here I am now in the homepage to start the creation of my own Copilot. So what we can see here in the list is the one that we have seen before, Issue Tracker Assistant. If you click on Copilots, and this is the part where I would like to focus on, you can create your own Copilot. But before to do it, let me show you and let me walk you through the Copilot that I built and created before. Clicking on this one, Issue Tracker Assistant, we can see several information. Now, three important aspects to consider when you create your own Copilot are actions, topics, and finally, how to publish your Copilot. So actions is basically what your own Copilot will perform for you. Topics helps to focus and guide your Copilot in providing the right answer. So my suggestion here is don't spend a lot of time on topics, because there is a new feature which is in preview right now and will increase and improve incredibly this part. So the first information that you have to provide when you create a new Copilot is the name, the description, instructions for onboarding new users, knowledge. This helps Copilot to find proper information that you are looking for. And in my case, I added the URL to my issue tracker list. But of course, you can add multiple sources if you have. Topics, we have already covered this aspect. And finally, actions. When you create a new actions, you have several possibilities. In my case, I created a flow in Power Automate to add an issue. So Copilot will take care of my request to create a new issue and then will trigger my flow. So this is the experience that we have seen before. All right, so let's now navigate through the knowledge. And here, as I mentioned, you have the ability to add knowledge. You can add a public website, files, SharePoint and OneDrive, Dataverse, Azure SQL, a lot of data sources. So this helps incredibly your Copilot to find and provide the best response possible to your users. Finally, we have topics. And here, when you start to create topic, in order to provide and guide Copilot to go back to the user with the right response and answer, you can add topics here, and then you can handle here. Now we have triggered by Copilot because I enabled the new feature. But if you don't do this, you will see another label here, and there you can edit the topics. So what will happen when the user type specific words? This will trigger your Copilot in doing something and provide the right response. So this is where you can play with these things. Then you have actions, and here what I added here is my add an issue action, which is a Power Automate flow. Analytics, here you can analyze how users work and interact with your bot. And finally, channels, where you want to make your bot available. In my case, in Microsoft Teams only. All right, when you are ready, then you can publish your Copilot. There are other things to consider, like settings. In settings, you can change the name of your Copilot. If it's wrong, you can add an icon. In advanced, you have more information. You can have log activities enabled to explore more information about how users interact with your bot. You have the environment ID and other useful information that are helpful to find and identify your Copilot. That's all. So if you go forward, we can see additional information. You can integrate more capabilities with your Copilot, like cognitive services for language, AI models from Azure OpenAI, Copilot SDK, but I'm not going to cover this right now. And this is where the magic is located. In generative AI section, you can set this checkbox generative. And this will give the chance to the generative AI to take care automatically of all your topics. So you don't need to take care, you can save time because the generative AI will take care of all topics that you have in the list. You don't need to edit anything. So moving forward, you have security, and here you can share your Copilot with other users. You can cover the authentication aspect. You can say no authentication needed to work and play with this Copilot, or you can reuse the out-of-the-box Microsoft authentication, or you can authenticate manually, redirecting the user to the proper site. Then we have web channel security. You can add secrets and tokens to add security to your Copilot. And then we have entities. So this helps to structure your data in your own Copilot. So this is the out-of-the-box list that you have. You can add more entities if you want. We have already seen skills, but if you want, you can add skills. And if I click on add skills, for example, I can reuse an existing manifest by reusing a URL. Here there is the Copilot ID. And finally, we have languages. The primary language is English, but of course, user can ask or can require to add an issue in another language, in Japanese, for example. And my own Copilot is able to figure out and then provide the result to the user. Finally, we have the natural language understanding. So this section is not something that I'm not going to cover here. All right, that's all. This is my bot. The experience if you create a new one is, let me click on Copilots, new Copilot, and are all information that we have seen before. So you have to go through every single aspect that we have seen before. Okay, let's leave now this tutorial and let's reuse this one. So I created, as I said, the proper action that I need to add issues on my list. When you want to create a new one, you have to click on add a new action, and then you will find here a list of existing actions that you can reuse. If you don't find the one that you want, you have to click on the create a new flow. And this is exactly what I have done before to create add an issue flow. So let me open the one, and it is this one. So let me edit this so we can explore this specific action or flow. So the trigger is run a flow from Copilot. And when you start the creation of a new one, you will find this trigger and then the response, which is this last step, respond to Copilot. So once my Copilot is triggered, I want to get some entries provided by the user. In my case, I defined some parameters. I clicked on add an input, then I defined text. You can be more specific if you want, in case of you want to get just yes or no, or you want to get a file or an email or a number or a date. In my case, to pre-populate with the information needed in my list, I defined it as parameters issue, issue description, priority, status, assigned to, this is an email address, will be an issue reported. With this kind of parameters, you can facilitate to get in the first step the right informations that you need to create a new element in the list. The second action is create item on my SharePoint site in my list issue tracker. So what I added here is the parameter that will come, in this case issue, will come from the previous step. Issue description, priority. The status is new, of course, because it's a new element that we are going to add in the list. The date reported is the UTC now. It is the exact moment when my Copilot will add this information in the list. And finally, the last parameter, the issue logged by, and then the user. That's it. After this step, I will build up and compose my response message. In this case, I will return and provide to the end user the new issue with the following info has been added correctly. Issue title and then description. Of course, you can add more information if you want and be more polite. All right, in the last step, I added a parameter, in this case a text result, and then it is the output of the previous step from my compose. That's it. This is the flow that I created. I saved this one, I publish it, and then this will be available in the list of your actions. And it is this one. You can then select this, next, and then add this flow as an additional action if you want. So in my use case, for example, I could have potentially an edit issue, a delete issue, or more. But let's keep it simple. And now we have this flow. Once you are ready to go, you can publish this bot. So you can target groups if you want. So let's say that you are going to release this bot for your HR department, and you can take a security group that identify your HR department or a Microsoft 365 group. So you can release to this specific department your bot. Once you have done that, you can also test this bot if you want by asking and seeing real time how your custom Copilot is working. When you publish your Copilot, this is not finished yet, because as a team admins, you have to let me emulate this step. So if I click on publish, now this one will be published, and I targeted in the channels Teams, so this will be published in Teams. But to make it available, you have to, as a Teams admin, you have to jump in the Teams admin center, and in Manage Apps, then you have to find your issue tracker assistant, in my case. And you have to double check that this is allowed, okay? Because if it's not allowed, user cannot find your bot. Okay, for my case was disabled, so then I clicked on the issue tracker assistant and I checked the status to allow it. Moreover, I also defined in the global setup policy that this issue tracker should be added as a fixed and pinned up on the left rail of Microsoft Teams. In fact, I have this issue tracker here pinned on my left rail in Teams navigation. All right, that's it. So this is how you can build and create your own Copilot and speed up and facilitate entries in new lists. As you can imagine, my custom Copilot is available in the Teams mobile app. Tapping on chat, I can see my issue tracker assistant. So here I can chat immediately with my own Copilot, and I can add easily new issues to my list just to cover this scenario. But it's in your hand. So imagine many other scenarios when we're in a store, for example, a manager can report something really important. In the more ellipsis button, I have this app also available, issue tracker. If I tap on it, I will open the chat with my bot. Alright, we have seen how easy it is create your own Copilot using Microsoft Copilot Studio. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if yes, consider to subscribe, like, add a comment down below. Let me know if you started to work on your own Copilot. Alright, I hope to see you next time. Bye.